They thought the water would silence her, but it whispered her name instead. This isn't just a catchy phrase. It's the beginning of a story that defies explanation, a tale of survival against all odds, where the very element meant to be a final, silent resting place became a source of life and a beacon of hope. Imagine a small coastal town, the kind where everyone knows everyone, and the sea is both a livelihood and a constant looming presence. This was the world of Ilara, a free spirit, a talented artist whose canvases were filled with the churning blues and grays of the ocean she loved. She was known for her kindness, her infectious laugh, and her almost mystical connection to the water. Some said she could read the tides like a book, that she could hear the secrets the waves carried from distant shores. But not everyone in town was charmed by Ilara's unique spirit. A shadow of jealousy and resentment lurked in the quiet corners of the community. There were those who saw her talent not as a gift, but as an affront. They saw her freedom as a challenge to their own rigid lives. This quiet animosity began to fester, growing from whispers in the tavern to cold stares in the market square. Ilara, ever the optimist, tried to ignore it, choosing to believe in the good of people, in the community she called home. One stormy evening, as the sky turned a bruised purple and the waves crashed against the cliffs with furious power, Ilara went missing. Her small boat, the Sea Sprite, was found the next morning, splintered and battered against the rocks. The town was thrown into a state of shock and mourning. The official story was simple and tragic. A talented artist, too bold for her own good, caught in a squall she couldn't handle. A terrible accident. The sea had claimed one of its own. Most accepted this explanation. They held a memorial, shared stories of her vibrant life, and slowly, the town began to move on. But a few of Ilara's closest friends couldn't shake a feeling of unease. They knew her. They knew her respect for the ocean, her uncanny ability to predict its moods. She wouldn't have been caught so recklessly. And then, there were the hushed words they'd overheard, the resentful glances they had seen. The official story felt too neat, too clean. It was during this time of quiet grief that something strange began to happen. Fishermen, casting their nets in the early morning fog, would hear a faint melodic humming carried on the wind, a tune Ilara used to sing while she painted. Children playing near the shore would claim to see flashes of brilliant color beneath the waves, like submerged paintings catching the light. And late at night, those who lived closest to the coast would swear they heard a single word, whispered by the rhythmic crash of the waves, Ilara. At first, people dismissed it as grief playing tricks on their minds. The town was mourning after all. But the occurrences became more frequent, more distinct. It was as if the ocean itself was refusing to let her memory fade. It was refusing to be silent. It was whispering her name. This is where our story truly begins. Because what happened to Ilara wasn't an accident. On that stormy night, consumed by jealousy, a small group from the town confronted her. They didn't intend for things to go as far as they did, or so they would later claim. But in a moment of anger and fear, they sabotaged her boat and cast her into the raging storm, believing the violent sea would erase their crime, silencing her forever. But the ocean, the very thing they trusted to be their accomplice, betrayed them. It did not take Ilara. Instead, it protected her. The powerful current that should have pulled her under instead carried her, cradled her, and deposited her in a hidden cove miles down the coast, a place accessible only by sea and known to very few. She was battered, bruised, but miraculously alive. For weeks, Ilara survived in this isolated sanctuary. The cove was a marvel of nature, a secret garden hidden from the world. Fresh water trickled down the rocks, and the sea provided her with food. She was alone, but not entirely. She felt a profound connection to the water that had saved her, a sense of an ancient, protective energy. It was during this time of healing and solitude that she began to understand. The whispers her friends heard weren't just their imagination. It was the ocean, carrying the echo of her spirit, her will to survive, back to the ones who cared. Back in town, Ilara's friends, emboldened by the persistent, strange phenomena, started their own quiet investigation. They pieced together the fragments. A dropped button found near the wreck, a boastful, drunken comment in the tavern, the sudden, unexplained wealth of one of the town's more desperate characters. The whispers of the sea had given them the courage to look for the truth that was hiding in plain sight. Ilara, meanwhile, knew she couldn't stay hidden forever. She had to return, not for revenge, but for justice. Using her knowledge of the tides and currents, the very skills that her detractors had envied, she built a small, sturdy raft from driftwood and debris that washed into her cove. She was no longer just an artist. She was a survivor, forged by the storm and sheltered by the sea. Her return was the stuff of legends. One bright, calm morning, as the townspeople gathered at the docks, a figure appeared on the horizon, paddling steadily toward the shore. As she drew closer, a collective gasp swept through the crowd. It was Ilara. Not a ghost, not a memory, but a living, breathing woman, stronger and more determined than ever. Her presence alone was an accusation. The conspirators, who had lived with a growing sense of dread as the sea whispered her name, saw their secret finally washed ashore. Their faces turned pale, their guilt exposed for all to see. In the face of her incredible survival, their lies crumbled. The truth came out, not in a torrent of anger, but in the quiet, undeniable power of her return. Ilara's story transformed the town. It became a powerful reminder that truth, much like the tide, cannot be held back forever. The sea, once feared, was now seen with a new reverence, as a force of justice, a keeper of secrets, and a symbol of resilience. Ilara didn't just survive. She was reborn from the water, her spirit intertwined with the very element that was meant to destroy her. They thought the water would silence her. They were wrong. It learned her name, and in its own time, it spoke the truth. Her story teaches us that even in our darkest moments, when it feels like we're being pulled under, there can be unexpected currents of hope and strength that carry us to a new shore. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible story. If you found it as inspiring as I did, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more tales that challenge what we think is possible. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, stay curious.